You are going to die! I am going to ultra kill you! I will spend the rest of my life tracking you down. I will find you. You will never sleep again. God will not save you. I am coming for you!
Well, hello there, my lovely Legionnaires. We've really been in the drama, haven't we? Well, it's finally my turn to talk about this since you've already heard my voice all over it, and I wanted to wait and make sure everything had cooled down and we had more of a final timeline before I got into talking about it. Our Dearest Doodletones has made 2 in-depth videos talking about everything that went down and including all of the calls, because I'm so done with this whole thing, I'm not hunting down timestamps. You can go and check those out in the description. This isn't that kind of video. For those of you who don't know, a commentator named Vigelsia was recently discovered to be hanging out with groomer and rapist V Omega in secret since his ousting from the SEC several years ago. After he disappeared faster than the father of a Dragon Ball fan to avoid any accountability for his affiliation, we then discovered that there were people in the Cloud Palace who had known about this for a prolonged amount of time and kept the secret from the rest of the community. Now, I want to make exemptions for all but 4 of the people who knew. Namely, because they were minors. They've been held accountable, but I'm not going to body slam them into bedrock because they were kids and they were being manipulated. Therefore, they aren't being mentioned here. The 5 people I'm going to be kicking into the dirt today are Mav Station, Bummer Patrol, aka Dalsmic, Neko Shadows, Blazin' Hope, aka Tippy, and Keyblade Master as well, who didn't know about this, but did try to pull some fuck shit, so we're going to be talking about that. We're going to go from the least egregious to the most and start with Mav. Most of these people claim to know for about a year, so until otherwise stated, that's what we're going to go off of. Mav's excuse for not doing anything about it was that he thought they were going to fix V. Given that V is older and should be a felon if there's any decency in the world, I don't know why you'd be under the suspicion that this was going to be anything other than a failure of catastrophic proportions. Vigil was putting him in contact with other commentators, so for all you knew, he was putting him in contact with more children, and you didn't think that maybe you should warn the group about that. Great. Nah, Vigil's gonna fix it. Speaking of people being put in contact with V, Bummer Patrol. I'm going to be addressing you as Doll, because that's how most people know you, so let's discuss that. Dalsmic was put in contact with V through Vigil to quell the rumors that V was studio needing more, which, had he possessed even the slightest brainwave to ask his friends about why they were saying it, he would have found out it was a fucking joke that was started to upset Neat. The only thing V is owed is spite and vitriol, so while you wanted to play mediator and clear the name of a groomer to prove that they weren't a different groomer instead of asking your friends why they were saying it is a little worrisome to me at best. I'm also not a fan of you suddenly remembering that you told other people only after you'd been discovered. Against my better judgment and the words of my friends, I'm going to assume that you're a dumbass rather than malicious for the time being. I don't know what absolute delusion would have possessed you to think that the people who had to sit and console V's victims would be okay with his lackey being in the same room where they discussed their trauma, but that needs to be corrected. Shadows, I'm not willing to extend that same benefit of doubt to, because not only did she conceal this information for the same brain-dead reason that Mav did, not only because after her own situation with a purple cat she should know better, but also because not one day later, we found out she was doing it again when playing defense for Keyblade after saying some vile shit about Ellie Momelli and Doodletones that we're gonna get to in just a little bit. You internalized jack and shit for your talk in the Cloud Palace about being ashamed. It's so remorseful for you to turn around and do it again the same fucking time with the same fucking people. It shows you don't give a singular fuck about the people you claim to be friends with. Get lost. All of these people have now left the community, and quite frankly, for the better. I think that some of them, like Mav, will have the opportunity to come back, but after fuck up with Bummer Patrol and Shadows' duplicitous behavior not only the next day, I, personally, wouldn't welcome them back. And under normal circumstances, this video would be equal fights for each of the people involved. But you've noticed that those 3 aren't in the thumbnail. Well, that's because for all of their stupidity, they didn't fuck up half as bad as Tippy and Key. So now, instead of laying it all on the table, we're just gonna have a fun little timeline of events. Are you ready? Follow along, it's gonna be a lot. We start our tale on the 30th in the Cloud Palace where everyone found out. Tippy begins this interaction by telling everyone that she was lied to. Over and over, she stresses that she was lied to, that this was a betrayal, that he stabbed her in the back. She then admits that she knew the whole time. I join in to get on the concrete information about who knew. Tippy claims that she knew in 2012, last year. Hold on to that. Tippy then begins talking about how she didn't tell anyone because she was respecting his boundaries, like a dick rider of a pedophile and attempted rapist needs his fucking boundaries respected. And, oh, please don't talk about the fact that my friend SA'd someone. That makes me really upset. Woo. She tries to defend herself with the shit excuse that she warned him, and I'm not fucking having that. You'll see why. This is the first time we see Tippy claim that she's going to hold herself accountable. That's the word of the day, kids. Remember that one, too. Kagura echoes my statement, and Tippy shouts him down before claiming we're ganging up on her. Really showing that accountability, Tip. She continues her anime girl routine and lets slip that she was never told that V was cut off, which would mean that the whole time she knew full well that Vigil and V were still pals. I point this out, and Tippy tries to shout me down, which is a losing battle 100 times out of 100. I am always going to be louder than you. Again, she tries to play victim as if she was somehow wronged. Avi points out she is not a victim in this situation, and she tries to turn it around on him. Nobody is having it. She tries to pretend that she's just as mad as everyone else, and then Avi turns it on her again, smart man, and the conversation just sorta dies from there. Then, we're gonna have to pivot back a little bit. Just a little bit. Because during this conversation in text, there was a conversation in the vent VC of the Cloud Palace. Ellie and Tippy had a little confrontation where Ellie shouts at Tippy for trying to play victim and informs her that she's a spineless two-faced jellyfish. This little confrontation is important. I'm gonna need you to bookmark it. Tippy then goes on to Sad Girl post on Twitter about how sad she is about the fact that she let a predator's dick rider share spaces with his victims. The 4 who knew, and Keyblade, all leave the Cloud Palace. Umbris then informs us that in a private server, our dear White Knight Keyblade has told Ellie Momelli, quote, "I hope you kill yourself, you fucking whore." Not a week, mind you, after she had, in fact, tried to do just that. He then anime posts like he's fucking Kaneki about how people are evil and this is totally justified actually and he isn't in the wrong for this opinion at all, which is going to make his later defense that he was just emotionally distraught, that he was not well put together, a little fucking stupid if you ask me. Neko Shadows then goes to Umbris, who is one of the minors Vigil tried to keep silent, by the way, to keep her silent about this, too. Umbris does not, because why the fuck would she? At this point, the courthouse confrontation happens, and I shout down this fucking man-child and tell him he's a fucking pussy bitch who can't fight his own battles man-to-man, and if I ever catch him with me or my friends' names in his mouth again, I'm going to give him the Kaneki-Ken treatment he wants so badly to LARP as. And we also find out that dear Tippy did not know for 1 year. In fact, she lied to us and knew for 2, which is immaculate, wonderful, so good. Knew twice as long as literally everyone else, but said and did nothing. Great. Immaculate. Not a few hours after that call, I then find out that Key tried to convince Umbris, the same minor that they all keep running to for whatever fucking reason, that Ellie and I were at fault for everything, and claimed that being kicked out of a commentary group was a wild punishment for hiding their association with a predator's knob slobber, and Tippy was trying to form a new CC group consisting of her friends. Lio and I proceed to set her head on straight and boot her from the courthouse. The next day, we get testimony from Degenerate that Tippy apparently tried to keep them quiet about their association with Vigil. All we have for this is Degenerate's testimony, so I want you to take that with a grain of salt. I'm noting it on the timeline because it's worth noting. Keyblade gets into a call with Ellie and her husband so she can get her catharsis. Tippy makes an alt account because of course she does. She wants to take accountability after all. Keyblade then leaks his DMs with Susie to a private server. Tippy joins in on trying to paint her as Two-Faced, of course. Tippy has another alt. Key then deletes his Twitter and privates all his videos because he also wants to take accountability. Susie's first video goes up. Afterwards, Tippy tries to get to Slayer through Steam to get Susie to take the video down because they are scared for their lives, despite the fact that they want to take accountability, guys. We can't let people know what they did and that they lied. That's not how they're supposed to take accountability for their actions, of course, naturally. Zeffy comes out of fucking nowhere back to, you guessed it, Umbris, to try and pressure them into not talking about the situation. What the fuck is it with you freaks trying to get to fucking Umbris? Leave the poor girl alone. Jesus Christ. Yoon, Susie, and Nezzy pull Zeffy into a call to get their head on straight, and as he had threatened to, the night of the first call in the courthouse, Lio pulls Tippy and Key in to set it. We also get Musically Bright, the bitch who was coming after Susie for no reason. Not a joke, by the way. Susie talked to her later, and she straight up admitted she didn't know Tippy or Key, but swung full force for them anyway. So, I'm tired. Before I give my closing thoughts, I need a little bit of a breather. I'm going to take that breather by giving my platform to someone who asked not only oh so nicely, but also had quite a bit of involvement in this entire situation. Ellie, if you will.
Thank you, Hiten. Hello, I am the aforementioned Ellie Momelli, and I've been in the Cloud Palace for about 2 years up until very recently. Here's why. 1 year ago, January 2022, my dad passed away due to COVID-19. My dad and I were really close, and his death crushed me. My family was torn apart and abandoned by those we thought we could trust, and when his birthday came up that same year in June, I thought I could have waited until my husband came home for comfort, as I wasn't doing very well in the slightest. But I couldn't. And I thought that the members of the Cloud Palace would be willing to be there for me if I had asked, as they had been there for many before. There were 50 plus members, and surely someone was around, so I asked if people could come into the event VC to help me, and after a good minutes of absolutely nothing, I'll admit I got a bit sassy and sarcastic when confronting them about it. What happened next was the definition of dogpiling. Neko shadows herself, even saying that I needed to time my grieving better, and it took my sweet Prince Yoon for them to realize that what they were doing was horribly, horribly wrong and inappropriate. I also want to make one thing clear. None of this was Susie's fault. She wasn't in there at the time that all of this went down, and by the time she did see it, it was already over. I am criticizing the actions of the individuals involved. They know exactly who they are. Susie cannot control other people's actions. They had a choice, and they made one. I don't hold Susie accountable for grown adults deciding to turn their empathy switch off that day. I won't be name-dropping them as well. It might be cathartic to me. I just really don't see the point. It won't solve anything. It'll only drag this nonsense out, and Lord knows, I don't want that to happen. Like, I've already dealt with enough the week of my anniversary. I don't need to keep going. It doesn't do anything, no matter how mad I am. This incident caused me to be very hesitant to talk about my father in any kind of way. It made me feel like I couldn't say anything, lest I be dogpiled again for being told I'm ruining a current mood. Even if I was talking about a happy memory with him, people seemed to be very uncomfortable with the topic at all. Now, some of those times in particular didn't involve the Cloud Palace, it involved another friend group I'm no longer a part of, but I'm trying to paint a picture for all of you as to how I was treated for about a year. I truly thought that getting help and support was out of the cards for me, like I didn't deserve it. Because who would want to listen to someone miss their dead father? Who would want to take time out of their day to help someone they consider a friend? As the topic was too depressing, so nobody really seemed to care. I mean, hell, you guys in the Cloud Palace vote on who you want in. You wanted me in, but I never felt wanted. The minute something got a little heated, the minute I challenged less than stellar actions, all of you tried to suppress and talk over me. Okay, maybe not all of you, but a good chunk of you. If not, you were completely silent, and I felt like I was fighting a losing battle. That's not the only time I was ganged up on, because attacking me was just a fad that time, but that's not important to the situation. Because I suppressed what I was going through, because I felt alone and screwed over by the people who I thought cared about me, something happened that could have ended extremely bad for me. To make it simple, July 17th, before my shift at work, my intrusive thoughts had gotten to a fever pitch, and luckily I was able to distract myself from going any further. But due to my experience, the last time I had feelings of this nature about my dad from the Cloud Palace and other instances, I kept quiet. I didn't want to bother anyone. I didn't want to bring the mood down because my husband had his friends over. So I went to work and hoped that I could just shove it down. But I couldn't. I felt like I was lying to my husband as it happened under our roof, so I called him and told him everything the next morning. He had left work early to monitor me, and I was then heavily encouraged to go to the hospital for a psych eval, as it was obvious I wasn't doing well. I confided in the service that I frequented, and I decided to trust the Cloud Palace again, specifically in this case to take my feelings into consideration. Apparently, Keyblade didn't get that message, or more importantly, he didn't want to get the message. He was very well aware of what happened to me and what I was going through. Even in a conversation we had one-on-one, he lied to me about knowing what I was dealing with. If that call Susie posted didn't come out or didn't happen at all, I wouldn't have caught him as red-handed as I did. To give more insight into what I did to make Keyblade want me to game over, I had gotten into a call with the Cloud Palace, when I was still in it, as requested by Susie to elaborate on what I was saying about Tippy having a pattern of being more concerned with protecting people's fifis over doing what's right. I won't go into detail, but when I explained myself to Tippy in the call, all I got in response was excuses as to why it was okay for her previous instances of acting cowardly and refusing the little bits of conflict was okay. I tried to explain to her how her actions, or inactions, have caused victims of V Omega to be put in danger since her cowardice has gone unchecked for so long. I got angry. I screamed at her in the call. I said she needed to grow a spine, and I'm not afraid to say what I said because I know it's true. Her allergy to friction and conflict has gotten people hurt. She's 2 years my senior, and I refuse to allow her to continue to be chicken shit instead of doing what was right. If I had a chance to do it over again, I wouldn't have changed a single thing. And because I verbally yelled at her and kicked his girlfriend from my personal server, well, and also with the fact that Keyblade just didn't like me, I apparently deserve to have death wished upon me. I've said my piece to him personally, as I frankly felt kind of cheated. I didn't hear him say sorry to me personally until the next day after the courthouse call. But honestly, after this, I'm just gonna move on, as it's the only way for me to be able to properly heal. I don't have much of value to say that wouldn't be either just running in circles, repeating what Hiten said, or getting into too much personal junk that I really would like to keep close to my chest. I've already trauma dumped enough. I only have a few things left for those who, in my time of need, decided to turn their backs on me and treat me like shit. You know who you are. I hope that what happened to me never happens to you or anyone you love. I hope that when your parents pass away, you have a strong support system, and you have people who won't leave you in the dust when your grieving becomes inconvenient. I wish you all nothing but support and healing when that day comes. And if anyone decides to at all register for the Cloud Palace again, that you treat them better than you did me. That you treat them like a human with feelings and not like some scapegoat when you decide to take their criticism personally. I also want to say, give Susie some support. She's been through enough. I'll be okay. I'm a pig girl, and I'm sure she needs the love more than I do. Hell, maybe this will be the beginning of Ellie gets treated like a human being by the universe era. On that note, have a good day, everyone. And hopefully, the next time I'm on this channel, it'll be with a lot better circumstances.
Thank you, Ellie. I'm glad you could say your piece. Now, my piece. Listen, I'm gonna preface this entire tirade with something that is very important. The first is obvious, but I will not allow room for interpretation. Do not attack or harass any of these people. Do not give them fuel for their victim complex. I get it if you're angry. We're all angry. I'm angry. That doesn't mean threats, it doesn't mean harassment, it doesn't mean doxing. It means we keep them accountable. I will not accept misbehavior in my community. I hope that's understood. I am not afraid to turn this anger on you if you misbehave. Now, considering the issue at hand, I hate with all of my soul when you cowardly, pusillanimous fuckers make the insinuation that I am manipulating anyone. I get that you can't have a conversation with someone without wanting to fuck them or wanting their sympathy respectively, but I've never needed to. I tell my friends my values frequently. They either agree or they don't. I've told my friends what I thought they should do on occasions when they ask me, and quite a few times, they don't do the thing. They're adults. Sometimes they convince me I was wrong. Sometimes they just don't listen to my advice. It's the way that it goes. Do not compare me to your disgusting behavior of pressuring minors and people you called friends into keeping quiet. Do not lessen my own autonomy either. Unlike you two, I'm not a fucking pussy who has to have 10 layers of padding between me and an original thought. If I had a problem with you, you would fucking know about it. I am not a limp-dicked incompetent who needs to talk shit about people behind their back. On several occasions, I have made crystal clear to people who needed to know what I thought of them perfectly clear. The difference is that unlike you swooning prima donna wannabes, I don't make those problems other people's problems unless it causes safety problems or is brought public first. I told you to your faces, and I will tell you again on this MP4-based website in front of every single viewer that the three of us share and some that we don't. You are low-life, backstabbing scum at best, and duplicitous, manipulative dangers at your worst. You are not the protagonist of your own anime, where whatever you say and do is righteous and just. You are bumbling, simpering weaklings who have been hiding in back rooms, talking shit and deluding yourselves into thinking that the people around you were just as pathetic and contemptible as you are to prevent looking in a fucking mirror. I am exhausted of listening to children masquerading as adults in our community, being too soft to air a grievance in private, and performing like college-ruled notebook paper at the idea of it being a community issue. Spoilers, if you weren't a fucking scumbag in private, we wouldn't make these things community issues. If none of you can be adults willingly, fine. I will make you be an adult, and you will take the accountability in the way that you should be taking it, not the way you want to take it. No hiding, no running. You are done. Good riddance.